You see a lot of these companies nowadays that are interesting iterations or unique value propositions that might be one tick away from the current product. Now, I think those are nice, but we have to understand that not only operators, humans, just in general consumers, are using products on a habit loop as well. So very often, they'll introduce these new products that already there's so much invested capital in previous products. If the world was perfect and we always use the best thing, that'd be awesome. But the reality of it is, if you look at it, there are people that don't take their medication on a daily basis because they're used to doing something, or there's a negative connotation to that. So trying to understand that on a more deeper basis, I think, is important for companies to say, why will somebody use my product? How will they use it? What's the integration? What's the change? Because that's unique. And what existing habits am I really fighting against? And what existing behaviors am I fighting against? Because that's very hard to change. And that's where a lot of companies ultimately fail.
It's a lot deeper than the product itself.
Yes.
You have to get into the psychology mindset of the consumer.
And I think that's, to understand, most top companies nowadays have psychologists on staff, whether it's on the economic side or whether it's on the behavioral psychology side. It's a critical piece to understand because, as we get deeper, trying to understand the why is so important. From a perseverance and persistence standpoint, I think entrepreneurs just need to really get a little gritty. And understand that it's a fight and it's a long fight. The expectations that most people set will never ever happen, and it's always different.
It's like building a building. You said the construction for 6 months, it takes 12.
It's terrible and it's painful, and what we tend to say just doesn't always happen the way we want it to. Sometimes it's entrepreneurs flubbing it, and many times it's entrepreneurs just simply not seeing the right picture or not seeing the right obstacles. Even the most experienced entrepreneurs, even Apple delays, even the major companies delay their products. That's okay, but continuously making progress, making good problems. We've had problems in terms of our product production, particularly on the manufacturing side. One of our focuses nowadays is let's create as many good problems as possible. Let's get out there, let's do business development. If I have to tell somebody I don't have a product ready for you, that's fine. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to have that contact. I'm going to be ready to go on that front. Trying to understand from a relationship standpoint and family matter is extremely important. And setting those expectations right. You see too many entrepreneurs falter because they don't want to face their friends, they don't want to face their family, they don't want to face their significant other, or their significant other doesn't understand because you painted too rosy of a picture. Very often that's a piece that entrepreneurs just miss entirely. Now, I haven't solved all those pieces yet, and I think it's an ever-growing process. And that's kind of the fourth piece of advice, is always be educating yourself. I'm a bookworm myself, so last year I read over 100 books.
Wow.
This year I'm on pace for about 80. Entrepreneurs need to get focused on what they're good at, but at the same time they need to develop knowledge everywhere. Right. They need to just continuously educate themselves. Books are an excellent way to do it. Warren Buffett famously talks about the aspect that, the one piece that a lot of people are missing in the business world, because we're such a hectic go society, is we don't spend enough time thinking or reading. And that process, I think, is very important, how you make very calculated decisions. Because as your business grows, as your company grows, you try to face your strategy and direction, people are making, one decision at the end of the day, hastily made, can screw up your company. The amount of time it takes to really think and consider all the various paths, but ultimately making a decision is so critical as well.
Well, especially if you have no business experience and you're going out and launching a business and being a CEO, you have to educate yourself, and thankfully there are a lot of ways to do that through readings and books and inspirational and seminars and all kinds of things like that.
I think if there was one last piece, and this is kind of going back to the perseverance perspective, and I think I made this mistake very early on, all early entrepreneurs do this, is that every single event becomes a major event, and it's significant. Everything is earth-shattering. Everything is, you take a look at it and say, my business is about to collapse, which in some cases it's about to. If your business isn't a couple steps away from failure at all times, sometimes you're doing something wrong, you're not taking enough risk. But to that extent, the freak-out process is not good. You make that problem with employees. You're short-tempered with employees, which is the biggest problem to have. Being very even-keeled. Alan Mulally is actually one of my favorite CEOs. I've learned from him a lot. He's a very keen and even-tempered type of guy. He's the CEO of Ford in their turnaround. that, I think, from an entrepreneur perspective, helps you on a perseverance standpoint as well, because every day is a learning experience. If you can appreciate every day and understand that, you'll make through it. It's not the end of the world to fail. It's not the end of the world to screw up on one thing. As long as you can come back from it, life is a lot more peaceful and the journey is a lot more enjoyable.
Right, yeah. Don't sweat the small stuff, and make sure that you sell your employees in on the vision and get them excited as well with the company.
You got to enjoy the thrill of things. And as long as you do that, and as long as you can enjoy that aspect of the fight, then it's still going to be fun no matter what.
Absolutely, I totally agree.